the best podcast on the planet.
Show me your body parts. That's what the man at the airport said.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's what the man at the airport said. And as you can imagine, my reaction was, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And so I asked him. I said, "I don't think I heard you. Do you mind repeating what you just said? Show me your body parts." Okay, so let me give you the scenario of how this happened. This is 2010, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. My wife and I have taken a group of 20-some-odd middle school students to New York City.
New York City!
Thank you. For a video class field trip. And we visited all the TV studios and just had a great time. And now we are at JFK Airport. It's, 9:30 at night. We are exhausted. We want to go home. We've gone through security, and now we're waiting for our flight home. And there is, as you can imagine, JFK Airport is packed. There is nowhere for a group of 20 or 30 very tired people to find any kind of place to just sit and be quiet. Except, I see off in the distance as we get through security, there's a gate that nobody's there. And I thought, there it is. There it is. That's where we are going to find a moment of rest. So we all go to this gate. We relax for a few minutes. And this is when a guy shows up. He's wearing a windbreaker, a blazer, and says, "Show me your body parts." So I'm looking around, and a couple of the other chaperones, they heard what he said. And I looked and I said, "Did you hear what did he say?" He goes, "Yeah, man. He said, show me your body parts." Now, we're the chaperones for a bunch of middle school kids. How do you think that went over with us, the adults? It didn't. And so I got out of my chair and I went after this guy. I went straight at him, and it's like, it's going to happen.
I thought you were going to say you were happy because it's been years since someone asked you that. That's what I don't know.
Wow.
So as soon as we start this yelling match, a couple supervisors show up, they diffuse the situation, and they let us know, by the way, the reason this gate is empty is this is the Israeli airline, and they don't play with security. Get out or go to jail. So we got out. We found another place, and there it is. Show me your body parts. What do you think he actually...
Same guy?
No. Yeah, the same guy. No. This happened, and it's all done. Now, the airplane, we get on the airplane. We're sitting there, getting ready to go. I'm relaxed. We're on the flight home. The hard part's over, right? All we got to do is get home. My wife leans over to me, and she goes, "Boarding pass." I said, "No, we don't need our boarding pass, baby. We're already on the plane. We're good." She goes, No. Show me your boarding pass. I said, "Hon, I don't have it. I got rid of it as soon as..." She goes, "No, that's what the guy said to you at the gate. Show me your boarding pass." He had such a thick accent, I thought he said, "Show me your body parts," and it was on. So, what... So we almost had an international incident because I didn't understand what the guy was saying. And I asked for a clarification, and his clarification was, "Show me your body parts." And that almost got us all, well, okay, not all, but
Probably
it almost
just
got
you.
me and one of the other chaperones arrested. We came literally this close to having a serious altercation with this guy. So how many times have you had a situation where you're sure, you are absolutely sure you understood what the other person said, only to come to find out, no, you didn't. You had no clue what that other person said. Has it ever happened to you?
Drive-thrus all day long. I'm sorry, it's so bad. And okay, this is really embarrassing, but I'm like, I would be in the same issue as you, Seth. I have a problem with accents, and I always feel embarrassed because I can't get it, and then I have to ask for the repeat, and then and this isn't just in drive-thrus, but anywhere. And so thankfully my husband knows this, and he's good at it, thank God. So I don't know why. So he can pick up on these things, and you can usually, if we're in a conversation or in a drive-through or something, he'll kind of whisper over my ear, "What kind of drink?" or "Would you like fries with that?" So that he's interpreting for me.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just bad with accents. I am, and I feel bad. I wish I could get better, and I don't know. I just feel bad. So, but drive-throughs, and in particular, we were at one the other night with all the fireworks and all the things, and the people just asked us to come to the window. They're like, "We can't even hear you." So I was like, "Thank you." So those are my instances. I know, and I'm like,
All right, Dale,
what?
your turn.
I can't think of anything relating to that. All I can remember is, you remember one of the midlife crisis cars I had, the little Audi with the convertible top?
Okay. Give a little bit of detail. Dale, you
have had a lot of cars.
35. Oh, yeah. Dale's had almost more cars than I have.
25 years old.
You were 25?
No, I'm kidding. Dude, I'm kidding.
Quarter life crisis?
Man,
I had to be like 30,
30-something.
Yeah, 30. I don't know. 8 or 9 years ago, right?
It was more than that, brother. More than that, because anyway, Dale and I are two middle-aged men.
Yeah.
And Dale is driving a fire engine red Audi TT convertible.
We just
Wasn't
you
it a
two
convertible?
together.
No, that was the other red car after that, the convertible. This was not a convertible.
The TT was a convertible.
No, the Z28 was a convertible.
Are you sure?
Not Z28. I can't even remember my cars.
A 350Z.
So many cars.
Thank you.
You had a 350Z. And that was the convertible?
Yes.
Okay. It's Car Talk on the best podcast on the planet.
Anyhow.
Welcome to Car Talk, everybody.
Seth and I are two meaty guys. So we get this little car.
I know you can't tell on the video.
Yeah, it's a very small car. So we get it, and it's so small, our side meat is touching. Our side meat is rubbing. And so we go to Disney
And he
Boardwalk.
kept making yummy noises. I didn't like that.
Give me the yummy, yummy. No. So we go to Disney Boardwalk for some reason. I think we're going to visit a friend.
We were going to go to dinner. We were going to go to the ESPN Club, get some wings.
Downtown Disney, which is formerly known as Downtown Disney. Wow, what's it now? Disney Springs or something?
Disney Springs now.
Yeah. Anyway,
so we're going through the parking attendant guy, and so we decided to put on our foreign accents to act like.
Hello, I would like to go to Hard Rock.
What is the Hard Rock? That's all we.
Hard Rock?
He was trying to tell us the Hard Rock's not here. It's just over.
Okay,
Hard Rock.
We go to Hard Rock.
Hard Rock.
We like Hard Rock.
Over and over. Hard Rock. Hard Rock.
Oh, we go to Hard Rock because clearly I look Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Well, he bought it anyway, but yeah.
Well, what's he going to do?
What are you going to question it? Hey, you're using a fake accent, sir.
And I'm sure that's never happened to him before.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he's never had a couple idiots go through the check through here, the security point. Or were we doing the sports show with Coach Joe's that night?
Yeah, that was that ESPN.
That's right.
When they had the ESPN thing there.
Yeah, we were asked to be on some sport.
Why?
Dale and I know nothing about
it. Why?
Nothing.
Who thought of that? Okay.
We just heard
friend.
Free food. That's all we heard.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Coach was buying us dinner. And while we were waiting for the ESPN crew to set up the TV show and everything, we went to this little pub next door and had a beer flight.
Little samples.
Yeah. But they were like 27 little samples. And we went back for the show, and Dale and I both were like, yeah, I don't care. We'll talk sports, whatever you want to talk about. Dale and I knew nothing about sports, but this guy, his name's Brian Joswiak. He used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. He used to be on our old show, and he invited us on that show that he was hosting. He had no business us being on his board. I don't even remember what we talked about. Do you?
I just remember Hard Rock. Hard Rock.
Hard Rock.
And the beer.
We want to go.
Flight of beer.
You guys,
I remember.
You have Hard Rock? That's right. Oh, that was funny. All right, so there it is. These are experiences that we've all had. And you listening, you have had experiences where you have said something very, very clearly to somebody and they didn't understand. They didn't get it. Mm-hmm. And you could repeat yourself a million times. Not getting it. They're absolutely not going to get it.
And it could be a matter of interpretation. I've had that problem recently, too. where you say something, or, we're in a meeting and we all hear the same thing coming out of one person's mouth, but you get out of the meeting and two people heard two different things, matter of interpretation. And that gets super frustrating to me, but I'm working on it because my interpretation is right, obviously. So I'm just trying to get through that. So
Every time it's okay. It's your interpretation is always right. Is that correct?
No. So I'm trying to figure that out. It's hard though, because people hear different things based on their own experiences or whatnot.
Right.
I don't know. There's so many things. Anyway.
And the other thing is that you can be listening to somebody and you can actually, I believe this is a thing. Your brain is expecting them to say one thing. Mm-hmm. They say something totally different, but you hear what you were expecting them to say.
Yep.
And you would swear you could get hooked up to the best polygraph, put your hand on a stack of Bibles, and you would swear that they said A, and if you listen back on a videotape or an audio tape, they actually said B.
Yeah.
And you will swear up and down. Now that tape is doctored. That's not what they said.
Yeah.
I know my brain. I know what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things to remember is it is absolutely okay to ask for clarification.
Oh, for sure.
More than once, if you need be. I know it can be embarrassing, but what's worse? Walking away going, I got no clue. I have no idea what they just said. I don't know what I'm about to do. I don't know what's expected of me, and I'm probably not going to have a job tomorrow. Or asking, I am so sorry. I know this is the 5th time I've asked you, can you say it in a different way? I'm not understanding.
Or say, I heard you say this. Maybe say it in a different light. Put it in, paraphrase it and say, I heard you say this. Is this what you're saying? And then they'll go, no, that's not what, or whatever.
That's not what I said at all. No. I said machete. What? All right, so let me ask you a question now. Let's go to the part 2 of this, right? Part 2. What about words and phrases that are used incorrectly?
Oh.
For example, did you read that recently Webster's Dictionary officially has recognized the, and I use quotation marks, word irregardless? There is no word irregardless. It is simply regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've heard people use it ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yes, so have I. I have heard people use all kinds of phrases incorrectly since I was a kid, right? Mm-hmm. There's dozens of them. There's probably hundreds of them. But just because it's used incorrectly often, does that mean that we should alter the language? We should actually alter our vocabulary to include the incorrect word or phrase?
Well, I know you say no, but then think about, how did our language begin?
Good point.
If
it never changed, we would still be speaking Gaelic.
And so there's all the things.
Well, hang on.
I don't know.
It's not. Well, actually, if language had never evolved, we probably would still be going.
There you go. Language is kind of fluid. Just
sure.
Like the word "kinda" is "kind of," but who articulates the "of"? That's boring. Come on. So
those of us who are educated.
Does that word irregardless grate you? Does it like a chalkboard? But it doesn't. Somebody could say it. And I know that it's not a real, but it doesn't bother me that they say it. It doesn't go, ugh, I can't stand them to say that word,
Right. That's now the catchphrase of the show. Now, that's actually what people are saying when they start listening. There are some that actually bother. Now, my dad was one that if you said the word ain't, you're likely to get a backhand.
Really?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, he was ain't a word. And it's like, well, you just kind of used it as a word.
Yeah. Little Seth, you have a fresh mouth.
Pow. Yeah. He hated the phrase. Yeah, ain't. He thought that was extremely disrespectful. You kids in that rock and roll using ain't. And there's some other phrases that it doesn't bother me so much in conversation. Oh, and there's another word. I've got coworkers that if you say they conversated, right, which technically is a word. Oh, I think we should.
It don't
conversate.
sound right though.
Oh, it doesn't sound right at all.
Let's have a conversation.
Thank you. Exactly. So if it's spoken, I have a tendency to just let it go.
Yeah.
Right. And if you were texting back and forth, who cares?
Yeah.
Abbreviate, use emojis, use hieroglyphs. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But in formal writing, if you are writing to me in a business email or something, if I'm reading an article by someone in an online news publication, that better be grammatically correct.
Yeah.
I do not want to see, I don't even want to see abbreviations. I want to see it is, not it's. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a level of forgiveness to a certain extent, but I guess where I'm going is, who has the responsibility when there's a conversation? Who has the responsibility to use the phrase correctly or to interpret and understand what they're saying? Because that goes back to our first example. How do you know what they're saying if they're not using the phrasing and the words correctly? How do you do that?
I think your instance was more like of a language misunderstanding, not that he was doing it on purpose.
Correct.
That he was just not up with our dialect or our accent.
And that could be geographically too. I mean, you go to different parts of the country. I mean, I've moved around and people talk weird up here. They don't use the word y'all and stuff. I say y'all and they look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Y'all are crazy. So
we lived in Wisconsin for a while, and we started attending a church, and the pastor there was from North Carolina. And we knew this was going to be our church home when in his sermon he said y'all. And I just looked at my wife and I went, this is our church home, baby. We're home. We feel here.
Not the theology, not anything else, just the grammar.
Well, what else did he say? Did he say, y'all are going to hell? And you're like, this is our place, honey.
What was it? There was something about, I can't remember the phrase. It'll come to me, but he was talking about one thing, and we understood it, being good old Southerners. We understood what he said, but the rest of the congregation was like, What did he say?
You're whispering to people, it means you all.
Yeah, it's just that. And your example for the gentleman in the airport was correct. He had a very thick, I believe it was
Was he from Mepos?
No, cousin
Balky?
Cousin Balky from Newport.
Yeah, I don't understand that reference.
Don't be ridiculous. Perfect Strangers, Holly. You remember
Perfect
that show,
Strangers.
right?
Watch it. It gives
Come
me an
on, you're
idea.
not that young.
Ooh.
I don't know. Maybe I just never
You're gonna
watched
let
it.
him get a. You're gonna let him get away with insulting you like that, Holly?
No, it's fine. I know.
Oh, you're not
She
that
looks
young.
She does look young, but
Okay. Well, all right. Let him slide. I never get that luxury. I say something slightly, I get both feet. But his dialect, you're right. I think he was from like the Sudan or one of these East African areas and stuff. And he was doing the best he could speaking English. And I'm positive that English was not his first language, right? So my thinking is, you have somebody in a security situation that really needs to be able to speak clear and distinct English when you're dealing with Southerners, and it's like that could cause a problem, and it did.
Well, unless
okay.
his security detail was just in that Israeli part of the gates, and he's speaking their language. He doesn't expect you to be there.
Why?
So,
don't I look Jewish? Huh?
No.
Anyway. Well, I am kind of, sort of. Anyway, so it was a case of just English language barrier.
Yeah.
But all right, so last part of this, let me just take it to the nth degree. Do you have a right to be offended by what somebody says if you don't understand what they're saying? If they're saying something that is
offensive?
No. I mean, because there are some things that are clearly offensive, and you have the right to be. You can have your feelings and so forth. But if they are using a vocabulary that you don't understand, that is phrasing and words that maybe you're not familiar with, and you assume they mean one thing when actually they mean something totally different. Do you then have a right to be offended, or do you have the responsibility
to clarify,
to find out first exactly what is it that you just said?
Yeah.
What did it mean? Then I will process my emotions and my reaction.
Well, because most people that I call it jumping into conclusions. Most of those people don't.
It's the only exercise I get.
Sure. I mean, most of those times they don't realize that they're not understanding it. So they either come from an emotional place already, an already emotional charged place. So they're, like you said, they're expecting them to say something. And so they immediately jump to conclusions, assume that they meant one thing when they didn't, and then have all the feelings in the world. And they think they're validated to feel that way, when in reality they're not. But that's because they don't even know that they misunderstood. So yeah, it is their responsibility to clarify, but if they don't realize that they misunderstood, they're not going to know to clarify. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. One of the things I used to say when doing talk radio is, I am very much responsible for what I say. You are responsible for what you understand. Mm-hmm. And, to a certain extent, I still agree with that. I still feel that it is, if you're going to engage in a debate with someone, you have to be prepared to understand what you're getting into. If you're going to challenge, let's say you go onto a college campus and you're going to challenge, let's say somebody in the astrophysics department about whether or not the Earth is round, okay? Then you need to be able to understand the jargon of the astrophysicist. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can't go in and go, Earth is round, Earth is flat, and they go off on a whole explanation of why light doesn't curve, and you just look at it and go, Earth is flat. You see what I'm saying? Mm. You have to be prepared. Yeah. And it is your responsibility to a certain extent to understand what the other person is saying.
Well, and it's just clarity. And it's, again, having a conversation back and forth to be able to say, well, I hear you saying this. So what did you say? So, yeah, I think it's a responsibility on both parties. I mean, the person communicating can't just assume, well, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and you're going to understand whatever you're going to understand, and I don't care. It's, no, we need to make the effort to try to get everybody to understand. But the responsibility is also on the hearer to be able to clarify and maybe have some little bit of back and forth. That's what conversation is. It shouldn't be one-sided.
Plus,
what were you going to say, Dale?
I was going to say, it also depends on what is being, like, if it's something really important that your life depends on it or something like that, I mean, you shouldn't get upset. You should just laugh it off. Like, you know how it is. Like, you misunderstand somebody, what they say, you can laugh it off. You wouldn't get upset about it unless it was something that was, cost you money or put you in jail or got you arrested, stuff like that.
Right. Like somebody thinking somebody wants you to show them your body parts,
yes.
and you go get ready to punch them in the face.
You were bowing up. You were getting ready to.
Oh, yeah. 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 As a matter of fact, my wife was thinking, great, we're not going to make the flight home because I'm going to have to bail this idiot out of jail. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I would love to see you on the nightly news.
Handcuffed, holding a sign. I got the number under. Yeah. Turn this way. Yeah. Hold the sign. It was funny. Is we used to do this radio show, the Mayhem in the AM on WLKF in Lakeland, Florida, all three of us, and we would go out on Friday nights, the first Friday of every month, and it was a little street party, and it was awesome, it was wonderful, and we would set up a tent and a display, and we would be there. And there was one month where they were doing a lot of awareness of drunk driving and that kind of thing, and so there was going to be a large police presence, demonstrations, and so forth at the street party, at the First Friday is what they called it. And so I made arrangements to be arrested and have an experience with people. Well, Holly, were you there for this?
I think I remember this.
Yeah, I remember at some point they were going to come up to me, cuff me, and I was going to resist, and they were going to cuff me, put me in the back of the car so that I could have some experience of what it was like, because that's never happened to me before. And part of this, I thought, what would be really funny is for me to have stand in one of the, with the chart behind you that says how tall you are, and actually have a sign, the number, Polk County Sheriff's Office or whatever, have a plate. I don't know what they're called. And I thought that would be really funny. Let's do that. We'll take some photos of me in the car and then a photo of my mugshot, right?
I'm sure Grady Judd would love that for you.
Well, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, great guy. He's a friend of ours. And yes, he said, sure, we'll do that. No problem. Probably one of the wisest things that the station manager ever intervened, Mike James, great guy. He said to me, he goes, yeah, let's not do the mugshot photo and have it on the internet. I'm like, why? It's a joke. Everybody, he goes, your future employers may not understand that's a joke and think you were really arrested.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, buddy? I hate it when you rain on my parade. I hate it when you rain on my parade.
But you're right.
But you're right. You are exactly right. And not too long ago, I was scrolling through Facebook, which if you go to Seth Mila Media on Facebook and scroll back, a dozen years, I'm looking at those pictures. I'm going, you know what? If I were a disinterested third party and I was scrolling through there, I'd be like, that idiot got arrested. We're not going to hire this guy. We can't have him be. What if he gets arrested again? Who knows what he got arrested for? So thank you, Mike. I know you're not listening to this podcast. Once you got rid of me, he was like, I don't want to.
Well, he's retired now, so he probably.
That's true. He's probably not sober enough to watch it. Anyway, so I kid, Mike. I kid. Not really. So it gets back to making the effort to communicate on both sides. And I think what we are seeing in our society, tell me if I'm wrong, I think we're seeing in our society a huge stubbornness, a refusal to hear the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just think one group bark, 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 and the other group bark, 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 and they're not doing anything to come together and work things out. Now, with a handful of exceptions, there was, from what I understand, there was a situation up here in our area where they're getting very insistent on tearing down some of the monuments, especially the Confederate war monuments and statues and so forth. And a group of white militia decided, you know what, we're going to demonstrate against this. We're going to show up and we're going to bring all our guns. Okay, they got the permits. They have the right to do it. Peacefully assemble. Open carry is the rule here in Virginia. They showed up, and there was a black group that said, you know what? We're a black militia. We're going to show up with our guns. Now, you would think that would be a problem, right? You would think, okay, you got two groups here that are maybe emotional. They're both bringing guns. This could be a problem. They showed up. They met. They shook hands. They talked, and then they dispersed. It's like, okay, we worked it out. We talked. You said your part. I said my part, and we may not agree on everything, but there are some things that we do agree on. That we have the right to protest, we have the right to speak our minds, and we have the right to bear arms. That whole Constitution thing, and it was very peaceful because they took the opportunity to listen to each other. And I thought that was amazing. I thought that was absolutely an amazing situation that happened here.
And it's cool to see that, but I just wish it would happen more often and more widespread. Yeah.
It's great that one little group cluster did that, but it'd be great if everybody did it. But.
Yeah, they did that here maybe a month ago or so when all that was going down, all the protests, and one of the cops came out and got on one knee, and they had like a moment of silence for George Floyd and all that. And so it was really cool to see him kind of join the protest. Like, we didn't really have many. We had a little bit of problems, but nothing like the rest of the country. But it was.
There
nice
was a little bit
that.
here too.
So
yeah, there have been several very peaceful demonstrations. Some of them have ended up in prayer groups, which is absolutely tremendous to see. And there has been some violence. There's been a little bit of damage to so forth, but not a lot. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I think there is more instances of people coming together and having a conversation, not a conversate, but a conversation about things that are very, very important. I think more peaceful and purposeful conversations actually are happening than the violent confrontations. But the peaceful, calm intellect and conversation, that doesn't make the news.
Yeah,
I was going to say, the media's not going to cover that.
That doesn't make the news, man.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, unfortunately, we are just about out of time for this delicious episode of, we called it Show Me Your Body Parts and Other Common Misunderstandings. Anyway, so if you've got a misunderstanding, or if you've got a topic that you would love for us to chew on and talk about, send it to us at sethmilamedia@gmail.com. Until we have another chance to see each other, talk, and have fun, be good to each other, be good to yourself. Try and think of others more than you think of yourself. And speaking for me, that's difficult sometimes. It really is difficult sometimes. But until then, thank you very much for listening. Check us out on YouTube, Seth Mila Media, or on YouTube, and wherever your fine podcasts are sold. It is the best podcast on the planet. Talk to you later. See ya.
So over the weekend, I was watching this Australian cooking show. It was fascinating.
Okay.
Because the chef was getting ready to make a lemon meringue pie.
A lemon meringue pie?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody was real happy. And then when he made the meringue, the audience stood up and cheered, which I thought was really unusual.
Very.
Because usually Australians boo meringue. Boomerang?
Yeah. Welcome to Monday.